Hi, and welcome to another edition of Legally Insane News. I'm your host, Kyle O'Donnell. Now, as promised to the members of the Legally Insane fan club, I am going to be releasing the behind-the-scenes interviews from Big Trouble in Little Quartzsite. Now, I would normally say I'm just releasing everything in full, blah blah blah, but there's so many complications I can't honestly say that they're not edited down. Some of these interviews go for 5 hours, so I'd have to cut them up in pieces and blah blah blah. What I'm giving you is the thrust of each one of these interviews. And today's release of the interview with Rocky Bertsch is extremely telling. It's one of the most important interviews. It was probably my third or fourth interview of the entire documentary when I was just getting into the heart of the matter. Like I had big pieces. I didn't really know the minutiae. I didn't really have all the names or anything like that. At the time when this interview went down, I was just then starting to interview folks. I think that same week, within a few days, I had got the news of how big this story was, and I was starting to talk to more people who were saying, yeah, somebody needs to report this, that kind of thing. So when I go into this interview, I'm still kind of in shock. I'm still kind of reeling. I'm still sort of almost just pensive, really, about who I'm talking to. You can hear it in my voice. I'm very careful about what I say to people because I don't want to scare them off, but at the same time, I want to be honest and balanced as a journalist and say, look, this interview could have some, potentially far-reaching implications. So I had to kind of like walk this tightrope of making sure I try to, keep that information flow coming. In any case, this is the public release of that interview. There's some juicy bits in here, but it is just the short version of it. It's just the truncated version. I think it's 5 or 6 minutes. To get the full interview, which is extremely telling, Rocky Bertsch and I go into the early detail of Richard Oldham. Rocky Bertsch is clearly a fan of Mr. Oldham, and I was at that time. Rocky was one of my early interviews, so I didn't know I had heard that there was a sinister background about Oldham, and when I first met him, he struck me as a nice guy, and I still kind of think that that's probably the case. He's probably a nice guy who maybe was motivated in negative directions or something, and that's maybe where some of this negative fallout came out, but I never met, perhaps I should say, Oldham never talked to me long enough for me to go any further in my impression of him. So that's all I've got right now. So basically, my only knowledge or perspective of Oldham comes basically, from other people, from other people's comments and stuff like that. So at the beginning, when I was interviewing people like Rocky Bertsch, who had worked with Oldham in the past, my initial thought was, well, maybe this guy isn't such a bad guy. Maybe he's not sinister as people say, maybe this, maybe that. So it's interesting to hear my early take or my early impressions of various things that I'm just finding out about the Quartzsite documentary and the story of the backhanded corruption and things like that. So very interesting interview. For the full interview, be sure to go over to legallyinsanenews.com, and this one is just the release for members only. But there are free memberships as well as paid memberships. So sign up for the level you're comfortable with and enjoy the show. It's really, really crazy. This story got big real quick. And so some of my more entertaining interviews are going to be upcoming. Everybody that you see in the film, I'm releasing them plus more. So Shanana Rain Golden Bear, Norm Simpson, everybody that you see and more. All the controversial figures, Mike Roth, Jennifer Jones. I've got probably 10 or 12 hours just on those 2 interviews alone. All that is going to be coming in the next few months. Stay tuned. Head over to legallyinsanenews.com and sign up for a membership. And yeah, enjoy the show.
They found the money corruption. They found there's a loan fund called a HERF fund. It's for highway repairs. And Quartzsite would get so many dollars of HERF money that had to be used for repairs. Well, City Council didn't take them too long to figure out how to steal that money. They borrow from the HERF fund and never pay it back. And they'd use it for general expenditures instead of road repairs. And that's when Ed Foster got involved with it. and Jade when they found out how the city was stealing money from the state. And let's put it, misappropriating funds from the state into the city's coffers. And Ed started. He'd come over to Richard's office 2-3 times a week with more FICA requests and not be able to get the information, and then try and get some and get a little bit, go to the county and get a little bit more, and they just kept building it. They had a damn good case against all of the city officials. Like I said, to the point where we hired a private investigator to dig into it, to give us the hard copy evidence to bring charges against them. And it was about 6 months after we hired that private investigator that I found out he was just stealing the businessmen's money and not giving them anything except lip service. So I got those business people. To terminate the association with that private investigator.
Wild.
Yeah. Well, the end of that. How do I put this way? With that private investigator, those 16 businessmen left the community, went to another community, met in a hotel conference room with this potential private investigator.
Hey,
Hello.
Sorry, I'm driving through a funky patch out here. The last thing I heard you say was the private investigator was going to meet with these guys?
Yeah, we met at a conference room in a hotel outside of Quartzsite. We left Quartzsite community, and we had this businessman's meeting with the private investigator to figure out how to end the corruption and uncover as much as we could about the trail of the money and the actions that were illegal on the part of the chief of police, L. Johnson, the city manager at the time, and the mayor, because they were a very tight-knit group, and the idiot, uneducated city council members that were there were just yes men for that tight-knit group that run the city.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, we found out a lot of stuff, I'll put it that way. And actually, I knew it all firsthand.
Yeah.
From the investigator. I was the one who he reported to.
Wow.
So
did you end up...
I just after 6 months of it, I just discovered that I'm getting a lot of lip service and I'm not getting a lot of hard copy. And he started wanting more money, and I told the group of businessmen, I said, you don't want to do that. I said, for the amount of information he's given us, which was good information, until we see hard copy in hand, I says, don't give this guy another penny. So they let him go.
Yeah.
And we never got because we let him go, we never got one page of hard copy.
Did you write any of that down on your blog?
I think so.
Yeah.
As much as I could share, because a lot of that was, pretty confidential at the time, because they were trying to build a criminal case against these people. The businessmen were going after them for, to file criminal charges. And we just didn't make it that far.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't ask me how I got sucked into that, but I did.
It sounds like you said that at the beginning of the conversation, but by the end of the conversation, I realized that you really meant it.
Yeah. Oh, I got pulled all the way in.
Yeah.
And I really got to see the inner workings of all the corruption that went on within Quartzsite.
That's pretty intense.
More so than anybody else, because this investigator reported to me.
Yeah.
And no other member of that organization was allowed to talk to the investigator. They weren't to have any communications with him. And so I became the confidential source.